Chapter 1. The Lost Helmet and the Whisper of the Past. The world of Veshura Prime was a scarred relic of a war long buried beneath layers of dust and silence, a place where echoes of a forgotten conflict lingered like ghosts in the cracked and desolate canyons that stretched endlessly beneath a blood-red sky. Centuries ago, this remote planet had been the crucible for one of the most brutal battles of the Great Galactic War, a struggle between the Earth Defense Fleet and a ruthless alien coalition known only in scattered records as the HFY Dominion. The war itself was a story told in fragments, tales of heroism, betrayal, and devastation that shaped the fate of entire star systems. But in the centuries since its end, it had become little more than a myth to most. Few dared to venture near the remains of the battlefield, now overgrown with strange alien flora that crept like living veins over twisted metal hulks and shattered mechs half buried in ash and rock. But Kayla was no ordinary traveler. She was a seeker of truth, a relentless archaeologist whose obsession with uncovering the realities behind humanity's darkest hours had brought her to this forsaken place. With every step she took into the desolation, Kayla felt the weight of history pressing down on her, as if the very soil beneath her boots remembered the bloodshed and the loss that had once soaked its surface. Her ship had landed days earlier at the edge of what was once a fortified trench line, now just a scar across the planet's cracked terrain. Kayla moved with purpose, scanning ruins with her advanced visor, mapping and cataloging every fragment of wreckage that could tell a story. Among the twisted remnants of battle drones and scorched battle armor, her gaze was drawn to something that shimmered faintly beneath a collapsed exosuit, something small, oddly pristine amid the chaos. Brushing away centuries of dust and debris with trembling hands, she uncovered a helmet, a relic that immediately commanded attention. Its sleek but battered form bore the insignia of the Earth Defense Fleet, a symbol that had become legendary in the annals of human space history. This helmet was unlike any she had seen before. Despite the ravages of time and war, it remained remarkably intact, as though it had been preserved for a purpose. Kayla's fingers traced the dents and scorch marks, feeling an unspoken urgency radiate from the object. This was no ordinary artifact. The visor creaked slightly as she lifted it, revealing the interior padding, and there, faint but unmistakable, was a message inscribed with what appeared to be human handwriting, preserved by some ancient sealant. "Find me. I'm alive." The words echoed in her mind, defying the finality of history that declared every soldier who fought here to be lost forever. The message was a summons, a call across the void of time. Kayla's breath hitched as the enormity of what she had found settled over her like a cold wave. This was a lifeline thrown from the past to the present, a secret that could rewrite everything humanity thought it knew about the Great Galactic War. For a century, the official records had painted a final, devastating battle in which the Earth Defense Fleet was annihilated, its brave warriors perishing in a last stand to halt the HFY advance. No survivors. No whispers of escape or rescue. Yet here was proof, the helmet and the message, suggesting that one of those lost soldiers had somehow survived, that a man who should have died still lived, waiting to be found. Kayla's mind swirled with possibilities and questions. How could he have lived all this time, hidden from the galaxy? Was he trapped somewhere, imprisoned by enemies, or perhaps by his own injuries? Or had he been rescued, hidden away in secret by allies who feared what knowledge he possessed? As Kayla carefully secured the helmet within her ship's containment unit, the hum of the life support systems felt strangely alive, as if the artifact itself was breathing with anticipation. Her ship's AI began cross-referencing the helmet's known coordinates with all available databases, military archives, encrypted transmissions, even forbidden logs from the HFY Dominion. Every thread of data was a potential clue to unravel the mystery of the man who refused to be forgotten. Her fingertips danced over the console, eyes glued to the flickering holographic displays as her search turned up anomalies, obscure signals from deep within the no-go zones, unexplained transmissions that had been dismissed as interference, encrypted messages that matched the helmet's unique signature. It was as if a ghost was calling out, faint but persistent, waiting for someone to answer. Kayla's heart quickened, her professional curiosity now intertwined with a deep personal resolve. She could feel the weight of duty pressing on her. This was no longer just an archaeological expedition, but a quest to find a man lost in time, a soldier whose survival could change everything. She studied the helmet again, noting the scars and insignias that told stories of fierce battles, of close calls, and sheer determination. The Earth Defense Fleet's emblem gleamed dimly beneath layers of grime, reminding her that the wearer had been a protector of humanity at its darkest hour. Her mind drifted to the possibilities of who he might be, a commander, a scout, or a simple infantryman whose courage had defied the odds. The inscription inside the helmet was almost pleading, written in a hurried hand, suggesting desperation, but also hope. This single artifact was a lifeline reaching out through a century of silence, waiting to be followed. Kayla's mission had shifted from uncovering history to rewriting it, to breathing life into a story long assumed to be over. She activated the ship's long-range scanners, setting a course for the coordinates where the faintest signal matching the helmet's unique frequency had been detected. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with dangers both known and unimaginable. But Kayla was determined. She would find the man who survived, who waited silently in the shadow of history, and bring his story to light. As Veshera Prime receded behind her, a planet still haunted by the memories of war, Kayla's thoughts were filled with the helmet's message, simple, yet profound. Find me. I'm alive. The words were a beacon, a promise that even after 100 years, the past was not done with her. Somewhere in the vast reaches of space, a soldier's fate hung in the balance, a survivor hidden in the void. And Kayla was the one chosen to find him. With determination burning bright, she prepared for the next chapter of the hunt, a journey that would take her beyond the boundaries of known space, into secrets buried deep beneath the stars, where the truth of the Great Galactic War waited to be revealed. Kayla sat in the dim glow of her ship's cockpit, the quiet hum of the engines mingling with the low pulse emitted by the helmet secured carefully in a containment field beside her. Outside the viewport, stars drifted in endless procession, silent witnesses to the countless stories buried among their twinkling lights. The planet Veshera Prime was now a pale blue, fading into the distance, its scars still fresh in the memory of a galaxy that had tried desperately to move on. Yet, for Kayla, it was only the beginning. The helmet was not merely a piece of war memorabilia. It was a key to a secret that had been carefully locked away for a century. She ran her fingers over the datapad, pulling up every archived document related to the last days of the Great Galactic War, cross-referencing each name, battle, and signal with the faint energy signature that the helmet still carried. The deeper she dug, the more gaps she uncovered in the official histories. Inconsistencies that hinted at a hidden truth carefully erased by time and those who had survived to tell a sanitized version of events. The soldier's name, she discovered, was Captain Elias Varen, a name that appeared in old reports as one of the most decorated pilots in the Earth Defense Fleet. His final mission had been shrouded in mystery, classified as a last-ditch effort to hold a vital position on Veshera Prime during the invasion of the Zywikura. The official records had listed him among the casualties, a hero who had fallen with his squadron when their fleet was overwhelmed by enemy forces. But none had ever found his body, nor any sign that he had survived beyond the day of the battle. The helmet was all that remained. Yet here was the haunting message: find me. I'm alive. A cry for rescue, or perhaps a warning. Kayla's mind raced. What could have happened to him? She could imagine the desperate last moments before he had scrawled those words inside his helmet. A moment suspended in time, when hope was the only thing keeping him alive. She activated the ship's comm system and reached out to her only contact in the outer colonies, an old war historian named Jalen Morrow. His knowledge of lost fleets and secret operations was unmatched, and she hoped his insights could shed light on the hidden signals she had detected. The response came hours later, crackling through the static. Kayla, if what you say is true, you might be sitting on the most significant discovery of the century. Varen was rumored to have a covert mission, one that was never officially recorded. Some believed he had access to experimental technology so advanced it could change the course of the war. If he survived, finding him could unravel decades of secrets, but it could also put you in danger. Many factions want the truth buried. His warning echoed ominously in her ears, But Kayla was undeterred. She was no stranger to risk, and the promise of uncovering the truth was a fire she could not extinguish. Her ship's sensors finally locked onto a weak transmission emanating from a derelict space station orbiting a remote moon in a neighboring star system, a location never before explored in any military logs. The signal was faint but persistent, resonating with the unique frequency encoded in the helmet's internal systems. Kayla set course immediately, the vastness of space stretching before her like a dark ocean. As she prepared for the journey, memories of the war's impact on humanity flooded her mind. Stories of planets burned to ash, families torn apart, and the resilience that had carried human civilization through the darkest ages. This quest was more than a scientific pursuit. It was a journey to restore a lost piece of humanity's soul. Somewhere, hidden in the void, Captain Elias Varen awaited rescue, a living testament to a war that refused to be forgotten. The journey through the star-studded void was long and fraught with peril. Space pirates prowled the trade routes, and rogue factions vied for control of the border systems. Kayla had to navigate a complex web of alliances and hostilities, relying on her wits and the trust she had built with old contacts to evade danger. Days turned into weeks as she traversed the cold, silent stretches of space, each moment bringing her closer to the station and the answers it held. During the long hours, Kayla studied the helmet more intently, marveling at the advanced materials and technology woven into its design-adaptive shielding, biometric sensors, and a covert communication array that seemed decades ahead of its time. It was clear that Elias Varen was no ordinary soldier. He had been part of an elite unit entrusted with secrets so profound they could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. As the space station finally came into view, its skeletal frame silhouetted against the blackness of space, Kayla felt a shiver of anticipation. The station was a relic itself, half destroyed, its systems flickering with intermittent life signs, a tomb for forgotten memories. Docking carefully, she prepared her gear and stepped into the silent corridors, her footsteps echoing in the hollow chambers. The air was stale, recycled from long ago, but traces of recent activity lingered, as if someone or something had been here not too long ago. Her heart pounded as she followed the faint signals deeper into the station's core, a labyrinth of machinery and forgotten technology that whispered of lost knowledge. Then, in a sealed chamber, she found it, a cryogenic pod, ancient yet functional, its control panel blinking faintly with life. The nameplate read, Elias Varen. Her breath caught in her throat as she prepared to open the pod, the message inside the helmet now a reality before her eyes. Chapter 2, Awakening the Ghost. The hiss of the cryogenic chamber releasing centuries of frozen silence filled the room as Kayla carefully disengaged the seals. Time seemed to slow as the pod's internal systems initiated their revival sequence, illuminating the sleeping figure within. Captain Elias Varen's features were serene, but marked by the passage of 100 years, lines etched deep by frozen stillness and a lifetime lost to war. His uniform, though faded, still bore the insignia of the Earth Defense Fleet, and the advanced armor embedded beneath his suit hinted at the experimental tech she had suspected. For a moment, Kayla could hardly believe what she was witnessing. A man who had been declared dead, preserved in time, waiting for rescue. The cryogenic systems worked flawlessly, pumping warm life back into his body, his chest rising slowly with the first breath of freedom in a century. Elias's eyes fluttered open, confusion and recognition battling within their depths. He struggled to comprehend his surroundings, the sterile chamber, the soft voice calling his name, the face of a stranger who held his helmet with reverence. His memories were fragmented, flashes of the battle, the explosion, the desperate retreat, and then darkness. The message inside his helmet was more than a plea. It was a lifeline, a code to those who could find him. Kayla explained everything she had discovered: the war, his supposed death, the discovery of his helmet, and the message that had saved him. Elias listened with a growing realization that his survival had been no accident, but part of a larger, hidden operation meant to keep the war's true stakes a secret. As he regained strength, Elias revealed the truth that had been buried beneath decades of lies. His last mission was not a doomed defense, but a covert strike against a ZY weapon capable of annihilating entire star systems, a weapon hidden within the heart of Veshra Prime itself. The explosion that had seemingly killed him had been a calculated sacrifice, a cover to hide the fact that he had survived and gone underground to dismantle the weapon from within enemy lines. But the ZY had captured him, imprisoning him in this station, severing his contact with the fleet, and erasing all records of his survival. His message inside the helmet was a desperate call to anyone who could hear it, a promise that he was alive and the war was far from over. Together, Kayla and Elias prepared to leave the station, knowing that his awakening would send shockwaves through the galaxy. Old enemies and new would come hunting for the man who held the key to the war's darkest secret. But for the first time in a century, humanity had a chance to confront the truth and fight back against the shadows that had threatened to consume them all. The seconds stretched like hours as the cryogenic pod hissed and vented, releasing decades of cold stagnation and ushering a fragile new breath of life into Captain Elias Varen's body. His chest rose unevenly, struggling to take in the stale recycled air of the derelict station's chamber. Kayla knelt beside him, her gloved hand gently pressing against his armored shoulder, steadying him as the faint glow of the pod's monitors cast long shadows across the walls. Elias's eyes fluttered open, revealing irises clouded by time and cold, yet burning with the indomitable fire of a soldier who had faced death and refused to succumb. His gaze, though bewildered by the sudden awakening, quickly sharpened as the fog of suspended animation lifted. He took in the sterile room, the faint hum of machinery, and finally, the young woman who held his helmet with reverence and something more hope. As consciousness settled, Elias's fragmented memories emerged in shards, chaotic flashes of plasma fire, the roar of battle, orders shouted over comms, and then the blinding explosion that had shattered his world. His mind raced, piecing together the moments before the darkness had claimed him. The war, the secret mission, the sacrifice all converged into a single, relentless purpose: to complete the task that had been entrusted to him, no matter the cost. Kayla's voice, steady and reassuring, bridged the gap between the lost past and the uncertain present. She explained how she had found his helmet, the message inside, and the trail that had led her here. Elias listened intently, the weight of a century pressing on his shoulders, yet a spark of hope ignited within him, the possibility that his mission was not yet finished, that the galaxy still needed him. The revelation that his survival had been erased from history shook him deeply. Official records had turned him into a ghost, a casualty of war whose fate was sealed in silence. But Elias knew the truth was far more complex and darker than anyone suspected. His final mission had been a covert operation to destroy the ZY ultimate weapon, a planet-shattering device buried deep beneath Veshra Prime's surface, capable of erasing entire star systems in a single blast. The explosion that had seemingly ended his life was a calculated ruse to mask his extraction, or so he had believed. Instead, he had been captured, imprisoned in this isolated station, and left to rot in suspended animation while the war raged on without him. His survival was a secret so dangerous that it had been buried beneath layers of deception, known only to a handful of commanders who had long since disappeared or been silenced. Kayla's presence was a beacon in his shadowed world. She was more than an archaeologist. She was the key to breaking his chains of isolation and reigniting the fight that had never truly ended. Together, they navigated the cold corridors of the station, which creaked and groaned under the weight of centuries. The faint signals that had led Kayla here were still active, humming like a beacon in the vast emptiness. Elias's knowledge of the station's layout and systems proved invaluable as they restored power and reactivated communication arrays, attempting to reach any surviving allies or fleet remnants scattered across the stars. But the silence they encountered was deafening. Decades of conflict had scattered humanity's forces, leaving pockets of resistance and isolated survivors struggling to hold on to hope. Despite the odds, Elias's resolve only hardened. The weapon he had tried to destroy was still out there, buried beneath the ruins of the battlefield, a ticking time bomb that could reignite the flames of war on an unimaginable scale. Kayla, inspired by his unwavering courage, pledged to stand by his side in the quest to expose the hidden threat and reunite the fractured factions of humanity. but their actions would not go unnoticed. Unseen eyes watched their every move. Rival factions, mercenaries, and remnants of the HFY Dominion who had long since adapted to the shadows of space, waiting for the moment to strike. Elias's return was a revelation that could topple fragile alliances and awaken dormant hostilities, plunging the galaxy into chaos once more. As they prepared to depart the station, Elias donned his ancient but advanced armor, its sleek design now a symbol of hope and defiance. The helmet, his constant companion through the dark years, fit snugly once more, its internal systems aligning with his neural patterns, connecting him to a forgotten network of encrypted data. With Kayla piloting, their ship slipped quietly from the station's orbit, venturing into the unknown. Each star they passed was a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the battles yet to be fought, not just against alien threats, but against the lies and secrets that had shaped history. Elias's eyes scanned the stars ahead, a silent vow on his lips to finish what he had started, to reclaim the truth, and to protect a future still hanging by a thread. In that moment, the past and present converged, igniting a spark that would light the way for a new chapter in humanity's saga story of survival, redemption, and the relentless pursuit of hope against all odds. The war was far from over, but Captain Elias Varen was alive, and the galaxy would soon learn that some ghosts refused to rest. As the ship drifted away from the forsaken station, the cold vastness of space seemed less like emptiness and more like a canvas awaiting the brushstrokes of a new story. Kayla watched Elias closely, noting the way his fingers instinctively checked the status of his suit's systems, the familiar grace of a soldier reclaiming his senses after long exile. He moved with an economy born of years of training and survival, despite the rust that age and cryo-sleep had imposed on his body. Yet there was an unmistakable fire burning in his eyes, the same fierce determination that had driven him into the inferno of war all those years ago. Their silence was comfortable but charged, a shared understanding that the next steps they took could alter the trajectory of a galaxy long thought to have moved past its darkest chapter. Elias recounted the fragmented history of his captivity and the slow unraveling of his confinement. The HFY Dominion had imprisoned him not simply to keep him alive, but as a bargaining chip, an insurance policy against the resurgence of Earth's forces. In the labyrinthine depths of the station, he had found allies in unexpected places, rebels, former prisoners, and even some HFY dissenters disillusioned by their leaders' ambitions. These alliances, fragile as they were, had kept hope alive, allowing him to maintain covert communications and orchestrate small acts of resistance. But as years bled into decades, his strength waned, and the dream of escape slipped further from reach until Kayla's arrival shattered the silence. The helmet's message, scrawled in desperation yet laced with hope, had crossed the void to guide a stranger to his salvation. It was more than survival. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, refusing to be extinguished even when all seemed lost. Kayla, moved by the weight of Elias's story, realized that their mission was no longer a solitary quest. They were the spark for a rekindling of resistance, the embodiment of a truth suppressed for generations. Her ship's communication systems, long dormant, were now their lifeline. Together, they sent out encrypted distress signals, coded to bypass the watchful ears of hostile factions. Their transmissions reached scattered pockets of human survivors, isolated colonies, rogue fleets, and hidden bases where hope still flickered. The responses were cautious but growing, a chorus of voices ready to unite under a banner long forgotten. Yet with every message sent, the danger intensified. The shadows of the HFY Dominion and other opportunistic warlords stirred, sensing the resurgence of a threat they had believed buried forever. The galaxy's fragile peace was a veneer, thin and ready to shatter. Elias and Kayla prepared for the inevitable confrontation. The weapon buried beneath Veshera Prime was not merely a relic of war. It was a beacon of annihilation, capable of reigniting the flames that had nearly consumed entire worlds. Their only chance to prevent catastrophe was to return to the war-torn planet, confront the secrets hidden beneath its surface, and dismantle the legacy of destruction before it could be unleashed again. The journey ahead was perilous, not just for the battles that awaited, But for the truths, they would unearth truths that could rewrite history, expose betrayals, and challenge the very foundation of the peace the galaxy now knew. Chapter 3. Return to the battlefield. The approach to Veshera Prime was a haunting sight, once a crucible of devastation, now a silent graveyard of twisted metal, shattered cities, and landscapes scarred by fire and war. The planet's atmosphere was thick with particulate storms, remnants of the cataclysmic blast that had reshaped its surface and altered its ecosystems. From orbit, the scars of battle stretched across continents, a testament to the horrors that had unfolded here. Kayla's ship descended cautiously through turbulent skies, guided by Elias's intimate knowledge of the terrain. He pointed out landmarks, a collapsed fortress here, a shattered mech graveyard there, each a silent witness to the sacrifice and fury of the Great Galactic War. Yet beneath the surface, hidden by layers of rock and ash, lay the true secret, the HFY weapon, a dormant titan waiting for its power to be unleashed once more. As they landed near the coordinates Elias had memorized, the reality of the mission settled heavily upon them. The ruins whispered tales of loss and hope, of lives forever changed by the firestorm of war. Their gear was heavy, loaded with advanced scanners, excavation tools, and weaponry prepared for hostile encounters and the unknown dangers lurking beneath the surface. Every step they took into the ruins was measured and deliberate, as though the planet itself was watching, guarding its secrets jealously. The ground beneath their boots felt fragile, the echoes of past battles reverberating in the silence. Kayla's heart pounded, aware that each moment brought them closer to discovery and confrontation. The weapon's power was legendary, said to harness energies beyond comprehension, a force that could reshape or destroy entire star systems with a single strike. If it had fallen into the wrong hands, the galaxy's fragile peace would shatter irreparably. Elias's memories guided their path deeper into the ruins. He spoke of secret tunnels and concealed chambers known only to a handful of elite operatives. The journey was arduous. Ancient traps and environmental hazards challenged their every move, remnants of the war's brutal defenses designed to keep intruders at bay. Yet, with Kayla's expertise and Elias's experience, they overcame each obstacle, pushing forward with a mixture of reverence and urgency. The closer they drew to the weapon's heart, the more tangible the weight of history became, a history buried beneath layers of deception and silence. The truth was waiting to be unearthed, demanding to be faced. As they approached the final chamber, the air grew thick with energy, a low hum resonating through the cavernous space. The HFY weapon lay dormant but alive, its core pulsing faintly with immense power. Elias's eyes narrowed with determination. This was the moment he had been fighting for all his life. But they were not alone. From the shadows emerged figures, mercenaries and zealots, remnants of factions determined to claim the weapon for their own ends. The quiet tension exploded into chaos, a battle reigniting the flames of a war thought long over. Elias and Kayla fought side by side, a testament to human resilience and the unbreakable bond forged through shared sacrifice. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance as they struggled not just for survival, but for the truth and for a peace that might finally endure. The cavern's oppressive silence shattered as the shadowy figures emerged from hidden alcoves and grated tunnels, their movements swift and purposeful, fueled by desperation and greed. Kayla's pulse quickened as her eyes adjusted to the dim light, revealing mercenaries clad in scavenged armor, their weapons gleaming with deadly intent. They were not mere bandits, but remnants of a fractured galaxy fighters who had survived the war by embracing its chaos, scavenging relics of power to claim dominion over the star systems left vulnerable by the Great Galactic War. Their leader, a tall figure with cybernetic implants that glowed faintly beneath his hood, locked eyes with Elias, a silent recognition passing between warriors who understood the stakes. Elias's grip tightened on his weapon, the familiar weight grounding him as memories flooded back the battles fought, comrades lost, the price of survival. Beside him, Kayla steadied her own weapon, determination blazing in her gaze. This was no longer just a mission of discovery, it was a fight for the future itself. The cavern erupted into a whirlwind of motion. Blaster fire echoed off stone walls, shadows dancing in bursts of light and darkness. Elias moved with practiced precision, a symphony of lethal efficiency honed through decades of combat and survival. Kayla's heart pounded as she maneuvered through the chaos, her training in archaeology and survival merging in this desperate dance of life and death. Every strike, every dodge was a statement. The past would not be forgotten, and the power that threatened the galaxy would not be unleashed. But the mercenaries were relentless, their numbers bolstered by zealots who believed the HFY weapon to be a divine instrument, capable of reshaping the universe according to their fanatical visions. The battle was not just physical, it was ideological, a clash of wills that had simmered beneath the surface for generations. Amid the chaos, Elias caught sight of the weapon's core, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with latent energy, encased in a labyrinth of conduits and control arrays. His mind raced, recalling the intricate sabotage plan he had devised in the war's final days, a plan that had failed only because he had been captured before its completion. The weapon was a fusion of alien technology and human engineering, its destructive potential amplified by the HFY's mastery of energy manipulation. It was a sleeping giant, and every second it remained active was a threat hanging over the galaxy like a sword. Elias and Kayla fought their way to the control chamber, battling through waves of enemies, each step closer to the heart of destruction filled with the weight of history and hope. In the control chamber, the air was thick with energy and tension. Elias activated his suit's interface, interfacing directly with the weapon's core systems. The holographic displays flickered to life, revealing the complex network of failsafes, power conduits, and destruction protocols. Kayla worked alongside him, using her analytical skills to decipher the alien interface and override the weapon's activation sequence. But time was against them. The mercenary leader had regrouped, preparing a final assault to seize control. The chamber trembled as the weapon responded to their intrusion, energy surging unpredictably. Elias's hands flew over the controls, bypassing security protocols and initiating the shutdown sequence, his mind focused and steady despite the chaos. Kayla's voice was calm but urgent, guiding him through the alien systems, her knowledge bridging the gap between human and HFY technology. As the shutdown neared completion, the mercenary leader burst into the chamber, weapon raised and fury blazing. Elias faced him, their confrontation a microcosm of the war's legacy, a battle not just of strength, but of ideals. The fight was brutal and swift, a clash of steel and fire that echoed through the chamber. Elias's determination, tempered by years of survival and sacrifice, proved stronger. The mercenary leader fell, his ambitions extinguished in a final, desperate act. With the threat neutralized, Elias completed the shutdown, the weapon's core dimming and the deadly hum fading into silence. The future of the galaxy, once again, hung in fragile balance. Breathing heavily, Elias and Kayla surveyed the chamber, now quiet except for the soft hum of failing power systems. The war was far from over not because of weapons or enemies, but because the truths they had uncovered challenged everything the galaxy believed. They had dismantled the HFY weapon, but the shadows of betrayal, lost comrades, and buried secrets still loomed. Elias knew his survival was not just a miracle, but a mandate. Together with Kayla, he vowed to reveal the hidden history, reunite the scattered remnants of humanity, and ensure that the sacrifices of the past were never forgotten. As they prepared to leave the battlefield behind, the stars beyond beckoned a vast, uncertain frontier where the true war for the galaxy's future was only just beginning. Even as the last echoes of gunfire faded into the cold stone corridors, the atmosphere was thick with a tense stillness, an uneasy calm that settled over the chamber like the aftermath of a storm. Elias stood amidst the flickering lights and failing systems, his breathing heavy but steady, the weight of the moment pressing down like the gravity of a dying star. The HFY weapon, that immense and terrifying device born from a twisted fusion of alien technology and human ingenuity, now lay dormant, disarmed, but still a haunting reminder of the devastation that had once engulfed entire worlds. It was a victory born from sacrifice, determination, and the unyielding human spirit, but it was only the beginning of a far greater battle. Elias's thoughts drifted to the countless lives lost, the comrades whose names had become whispers on the wind, and the scars etched not just on the planet beneath their feet, but in the collective memory of humanity. Kayla moved quietly beside him, her eyes scanning the control panels and data logs, capturing every fragment of information that could piece together the story of this hidden weapon and the war that had nearly ended civilization itself. She understood that their discovery was a fulcrum, a pivotal moment where the past collided with the present, and the choices they made now would ripple through the future. The mercenaries' defeat was but a fleeting reprieve. The galaxy was a fractious place, filled with factions hungry for power and secrets buried deep within the ruins of the war. Elias and Kayla knew that their journey would not end with the disarming of one weapon. They had awakened forces both within and beyond humanity, forces that would challenge their resolve, their trust, and the very bonds that held the fragile peace together. As they prepared to leave the chamber, Elias accessed encrypted communications embedded within his armor, reaching out to scattered human outposts and resistance cells. The messages he sent were coded, warnings wrapped in hope, a call to arms for those who still believed in a united future. Kayla plotted their course away from Veshra Prime, knowing that the path ahead was fraught with danger, but also opportunity. The weapon might have been silenced, but the truths they had uncovered of betrayal, lost alliances, and the shadow games of galactic politics would demand confrontation. Together, they were no longer relics of a forgotten war, but catalysts for change, beacons lighting the way for a new chapter in humanity's cosmic saga. Chapter 4. The Truth Unveiled. The stars beyond the viewport shimmered like distant promises as Kayla and Elias's ship soared away from the ruined planet, cutting through the velvet darkness with purpose. Inside the ship, the atmosphere was heavy with anticipation and unspoken questions. Elias sat in the command chair, his mind racing through the fragments of the past, the secrets buried beneath layers of time and deceit. Kayla worked tirelessly, decrypting the data salvage from the ZY weapon's core and the station's logs, each byte revealing more about the true nature of the war and the forces that had shaped it. What they found was a web of conspiracy far greater than either had imagined: political machinations, covert experiments, and betrayals that spanned governments and star systems. The Great Galactic War was not just a conflict between species, but a stage for power plays that had altered the destiny of billions. The revelation struck with the weight of a supernova. Elias had been not only a soldier, but a pawn in a game that transcended battlefields, a game where the truth was obscured by layers of propaganda and fear. The weapon he had helped design and destroy was part of a larger agenda, one that sought to control not just planets, but the very fabric of space-time itself. Kayla's fingers flew over the console as she cross-referenced names, dates, and encrypted messages, uncovering alliances between rogue elements within the Earth Defense Fleet and ZY defectors, united by ambitions that threatened to ignite another war far deadlier than the last. Their survival, their mission, had made them targets not only for the enemies they had faced on Veshra Prime, but for those who thrived in the shadows of peace. Determined to expose the hidden truth, Elias and Kayla set course for the Galactic Council, the central governing body that had presided over the uneasy peace since the war's end. They carried evidence that could dismantle the fragile alliances and bring justice to those who had manipulated fate from behind closed doors. But the council was a fortress of diplomacy and intrigue, where every word was weighed and every motive questioned. To present their findings would require more than proof. It would demand courage, alliances, and the willingness to challenge the very foundations of galactic governance. Elias prepared himself for the confrontation ahead, knowing that the survival of humanity depended on the courage to face uncomfortable truths and the strength to forge a new path. Kayla stood beside him, her resolve unwavering. Together, they would unravel the shadows, shining light into the darkest corners of the galaxy's history. The war had taken much from them: time, comrades, peace, but it had not taken their hope. As the stars streaked past, a new journey began, one where the past's secrets would be revealed, and the future reclaimed by those brave enough to fight for it. The Galactic Council's massive citadel hung in the starry void like a beacon of fragile hope and delicate power, its spires and domes reflecting centuries of diplomacy, conflict, and uneasy alliances that had sought to hold the fractured galaxy together since the end of the Great Galactic War. Elias and Kayla's ship approached cautiously, navigating the intricate web of defensive satellites, sensor arrays, and diplomatic checkpoints that surrounded the seat of galactic governance. Inside the cockpit, tension thickened the air. Elias's hands were steady on the controls, but his mind roamed the labyrinth of secrets they were about to expose, secrets that had been buried beneath layers of deception and silence for decades. Kayla prepared the data core they would present to the Council, a digital trove filled with encrypted evidence that shattered the sanitized history they had all been fed. The truth was a double-edged sword. It could heal or destroy, unite or divide. And now, it was their burden to bear. As they docked and passed through the Council's grand halls, the sheer scale of the institution overwhelmed them. Ambassadors from countless worlds, each cloaked in their cultural regalia, milling through corridors echoing with hushed conversations and political intrigue. The council chambers were a marvel of architecture and technology, an immense circular arena lined with holographic displays, floating data streams, and a jury of the galaxy's most influential leaders seated in tiers that seemed to reach the stars themselves. Elias felt the weight of history settle on his shoulders, knowing that he was not just presenting evidence, but challenging the very narrative that had defined a century. The voices of those lost in the war, the forgotten sacrifices, and the truths twisted by power all converged into this moment of reckoning. Kayla activated the data core, projecting the holographic records into the center of the chamber, flashing images of hidden weapons programs, intercepted communications revealing betrayals, and encrypted orders from shadowy figures who had manipulated the war's outcome for personal gain. The council members murmured, some with shock, others with skepticism. Elias spoke with the clarity and conviction born of experience, detailing his capture, imprisonment, and the covert operation to dismantle the ZY-Kara superweapon, a mission erased from history to protect secrets too dangerous to surface. He revealed the alliances between rogue elements of the Earth Defense Fleet and ZY-Kara defectors, a conspiracy that had stretched beyond the battlefield into the highest echelons of power. The weapon was not just a tool of destruction but a symbol of control, designed to subjugate entire star systems under a regime of fear. The room erupted into debate and outrage, with factions rising to defend old alliances and others demanding accountability for decades of lies. The revelation threatened to unravel the peace painstakingly brokered after the war, exposing fractures that could ignite new conflicts. Elias and Kayla faced not just political resistance but personal attacks, as those who had thrived in the shadows sought to discredit their findings. Yet the truth could not be silenced. Through testimonies from survivors, corroborating evidence from independent factions, and the undeniable proof within the weapons systems, they forced the Council to confront a reality long denied. It was a reckoning that would reshape the galaxy's future, demanding justice for the fallen and transparency for the living. In the aftermath, Elias found himself at the center of a movement and effort to rebuild trust among disparate worlds and to forge a new coalition based on truth and shared purpose. Kayla's role evolved from seeker of history to guardian of legacy, her work ensuring that the sacrifices of the past were honored and the mistakes of history were never repeated. Together, they embarked on a journey to unite a fractured galaxy, facing challenges and betrayals, but also forging bonds of hope and resilience. The helmet, once a symbol of lost war and forgotten souls, had become a beacon of renewal and defiance. As the council sessions continued and new alliances formed, Elias looked toward the stars with a steady gaze, the weight of his past balanced by the promise of a future he would fight to protect. The war was over, but the struggle for peace and truth was eternal. In the vast expanse of space, amidst the endless dance of stars and shadows, humanity's story was being rewritten not as victims of fate, but as architects of destiny. The weeks that followed the revelations in the Galactic Council chambers were a turbulent storm of political upheaval and fragile hope. The truths Elias and Kayla had uncovered ignited debates across star systems, fracturing old alliances and forging new ones in their wake. Across the galaxy, leaders and citizens alike grappled with the shadows of deception that had lingered for a century, wondering how peace, could be rebuilt on foundations so deeply shaken. Yet amid the chaos, a movement began to rise. One born of the courage to face painful truths and the determination to ensure the sacrifices of the past were neither forgotten nor in vain. Elias became a symbol of this movement, a living testament to survival, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of justice. His story, once erased, now inspired countless others to reclaim their history and demand a future built on transparency and unity. Kayla stood beside him through it all, her passion and determination the steady force that transformed relics of war into beacons of hope. Together, they traveled from planet to planet, sharing the truth, rallying support, and helping rebuild fractured communities torn apart by decades of conflict and mistrust. The helmet that had started it all, once a silent sentinel buried beneath ash and ruin, was now a sacred artifact displayed in the council's halls, a reminder of the cost of secrecy and the power of truth. Its inscription, "Find me, I'm alive," echoed not only as a call across time, but as a mantra for a galaxy determined to heal. But healing was not without its trials. Old enemies lurked in the shadows, seeking to reclaim lost power and plunge the galaxy back into chaos. Elias and Kayla faced assassination attempts, sabotage, and betrayal from unexpected quarters. Yet each challenge only strengthened their resolve. They forged alliances with former foes, united by a common goal to protect the fragile peace and prevent the horrors of the past from repeating. The journey was arduous, filled with sacrifice and heartbreak, but it was also a testament to the enduring spirit of life and hope. In quiet moments, Elias reflected on the path that had brought him from the brink of death to the forefront of galactic change. The helmet, once a symbol of his isolation and presumed death, had become the key to his redemption and purpose. He had fallen in battle a century ago, not truly defeated, but preserved by hope and the unwavering belief that survival was possible. Now, standing among stars brighter than he had ever imagined, he understood that the greatest battles were not fought with weapons, but with truth, courage, and the unyielding will to create a better future. As the galaxy slowly healed, Kayla and Elias looked toward the horizon, a universe vast and full of possibility. Their story, born from the ashes of war, was a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could endure, and those who dared to seek the truth could change the fate of worlds. The past was no longer a chain but a foundation, and together, they would build a legacy worthy of the stars.